Hey, 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 good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your morning wake up call. This is your daily motivation and marketing education right here in the SNP family. I'm Lisa McKenzie, and I'm going to be your host today, where we're going to be talking about the Navy SEALs 40% rule and 3 ways you can apply it in your life. So if you're hopping on live, let me know. Just drop your name and where you're coming in from in the comments so I can check in with you. And if you're watching this on the replay, just drop me a hashtag replay and I'll come back in and shout you out a little bit later. Buenos dias, Jessica. ¿Cómo está? That's about the extent of my Spanish. I'm sorry. I'm working on it, though, working hard on it. Good to see you. Good to see you this morning. So the Navy SEALs 40% rule. First of all, who here has ever heard of the Navy SEALs? Do you know kind of who they are and what they do? Just drop me an I know in the comments below if you do know. Well, here's the deal. The Navy SEALs are some of the toughest men on this earth. They are the Special Forces Division of the military branch of the Navy. And I will tell you that going through Navy SEALs selection and training is one of the most grueling things anyone can possibly do. Did you know that there actually is a 75% dropout rate when Navy SEALs go through the training program? They call it the BUDS program. So that means only 25% of the people that go through this training actually make it. And that's because it is so grueling and so demanding. And there are 75% of the people that give up. And mind you, these people that are going through this training went through a very highly selective process. So these are the cream of the crop, the cream of the cream of the crop, in fact. But the Navy SEALs actually have something called the 40% rule that they apply. And a lot of this training that I'm going to talk to you about today is taken from a book by a man named Jesse Itzler, who had a Navy SEAL come and live with his family for 30 days so that they could really absorb that intense experience of what it takes to succeed at the very tippy top of your game. So today, first of all, we're going to talk about what the 40% rule is. And basically the 40% rule says that when your mind tells you that you're done, whether it's with a physical task, a mental task, or an emotional task, your mind says to you, I'm done. I just can't go on anymore. You're actually only at 40% of your capacity. 40% means you have 60% of your capacity left and you have the reserves in you to get to the finish line. Those reserves may come from motivation, from desire, wherever it comes from. You have the reserves in you to get all the way to the finish line. So the 40% rule, again, just says that when you are feeling done, when you're feeling tapped out, you're feeling exhausted, you feel like you've got to walk away, you're only at 40% and you have a ways to go. So I want you just to take a second. And if you want to close your eyes, that's fine. I want you to imagine a time in your life where you were doing something that was really, really, really difficult. It may have been something physical. It may have been something mental. It may have been something emotional. And if you can kind of imagine that time and think back on it, just drop me a me in the comments below. Hey, Judy, good morning. Good to see you. So while you're imagining this time that you were doing something really, really demanding of yourself, think about what happened next. In many, many cases, you probably found a way through it. And good, Jessica, me too, lots of times, right? You probably found a way through it. You found a way to power through, make it happen, and go on to complete whatever the task was that you were doing. So that is just a really incredible feeling. And I think one of the best ways to think about this is if you're a runner. Or if you've tried to be a runner. And I'm just going to go on record and say, I do not like running. The only part of running I like is the stopping part. But there are lots and lots of people in our world that love running. And there are lots and lots of people that run marathons. So if you've ever, if you're a runner, or if you've ever run a marathon or even wanted to run a marathon, just drop me a, I've done it, or I'm a runner, or whatever you want to share with me. But here's the thing. When people run marathons, there's a lot of science behind this and research behind it. A marathon, by the way, is 26.2 miles. That's a long, long way. And there's kind of a conventional wisdom that when people get to about that 14 to 16 mile point in the marathon, they feel like they hit a wall. They feel like they're done and they just can't go on any further. But guess what? You got 10 more miles to go. 10 more miles to go. So how do you power through that? And here's another little fact. 99% of people who start a marathon finish it. It doesn't matter how they finish it, they cross the finish line somehow or another. So that means that even though people are hitting this wall, they're finding the reserves to power their way through it. So it can be done. So I want to talk to you now about 3 ways that you can apply this 40% rule. When you think you're at capacity, how do you power through? And the first way I'm going to talk about is probably, I think, the easiest one to imagine, and that is a physical exhaustion. So again, physical activity, something that you're doing that you just feel like you can't go on any longer. And the concept here is kind of training to failure. Training till you really, really, truly just can't go on anymore. And the best way to do this is incrementally. Now, even though, as I just shared with you, I really don't like running, there was a time where I actually did a lot of triathlons, and triathlons include swimming, cycling, bicycling, and running. And so I had to run a lot to train for the triathlons that I was doing. And I didn't like running at all. So I remember so often when I'd be out doing my run and I had a certain number of miles that I had to do that day to keep up with my training schedule, I would get to the point that I just felt like I absolutely could not go on anymore. I felt like I just had to stop completely, probably like just puddle out on the road there, but I didn't. So one of the things that I did to kind of help keep me going, I was always running in kind of suburban areas, is I would look for something out in front of me and think, you can just make it to that. So I'd be running real slowly and I'd go, okay, I'm just done. I can't go on anymore. But then I go, okay, you can just run to that stop sign. Just make it to the stop sign. And then you get to the stop sign and I'd go, okay, I can just make it to that tree up by the Haley's house up there. So I just run a little bit further and make it to the tree. Okay, you can just make it to the next mailbox. And I would kind of give myself these little incremental things. Next thing I knew, I was back home in front of my house and I'd run all the way. So incremental training is a really, really good way to train yourself to push through the 40% when you're doing something physically. Here's a little challenge I'm going to give you. Maybe sit-ups. Sit-ups are difficult for a lot of people. So maybe one day, the first day you do sit-ups, maybe you can get out 20 sit-ups. 20 sit-ups is awesome. So give yourself a little goal. The next day, maybe add 5 sit-ups. Jessica, you do it too. It's a great way to get through, isn't it? Maybe next day, add 5 sit-ups. So the next day you do 25 sit-ups. Add 5 more the next day. You do 30 sit-ups. So you're giving yourselves these little successes, but you're pushing yourself through when you think you're done. Next thing you know, you're at 100 sit-ups a day. Pretty awesome, right? So yeah, just give me a +5 if you can find a way to apply that in your life. Incremental training to train yourself to failure. When you're doing something physical, push yourself through that 40% and find your reserves to get all the way through to the finish line, to the end. So the second way I want to talk about applying the 40% rule is in work, in what we do every day. And when we are in our work situation, we generally have kind of challenges and goals. Jessica, I can't wait to hear how it goes for you. We generally have challenges and goals in our workplace that we're trying to get through. So when we're thinking about applying the 40% rule to work or to our career, I want you to first think about what your biggest obstacle is. What is it that gets in your way the most, or your biggest roadblock? Maybe it's writing content. Hey, Brittany, good morning. Good to see you today. Maybe it's writing content. Maybe it's doing live videos. Maybe it's making phone calls to prospects. There's generally something that kind of gets in our way or holds us up or roadblocks us. So just tell me, drop me an I do if you do a task list every day. Every day I have a task list. I generally make it the night before, so I know what I've got to work on the next day. And I work through that all day. And at the end of the day, I kind of have to review and see where I am on the task list. So give me an I do if you all work off of a task list every day also. It kind of helps keep you on track, right? Well, guess what? I know you guys have experienced this. There's lots of times that maybe my list takes me longer over the day. Maybe I've, run into some hurdles. And it's a real natural tendency to leave the things that we least want to do to the last. That's a very natural thing to do. Thanks, Jill. Good morning to you. So when we do that, there gets a point in the day, and it happens to me a lot, you guys. I'm an early bird, so I'm going early in the morning. By 6, 7 p.m. at night, a lot of times I'm just wiped out. I'm exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm ready to pour a glass of wine. I'm ready to relax. I'm maybe even ready to go to bed. And so what I try to do is I just find one more task on my list. And I tell myself, I'm just going to do this task and then I'm going to be done. And I go ahead and do that task. And it turns out it was a little easier or quicker than I thought it would be. So I go, okay, you can do just one more task and kind of take them on again one at a time. And guess what? Pretty soon you're through your entire list. You finished all your tasks. And now you can go have that glass of wine. So I challenge you to just take on one more task. Even if sometimes it might be the hardest thing to do. Take maybe 10 minutes and just sit at your workspace. And you can listen to music. You can maybe meditate a little bit. Do something to just kind of give yourself a mental break. But the biggest thing is don't go away. Don't leave what you're doing, because what you're doing right now is you're at 40% of your capacity and you're tapping into those reserves to get you through to the finish line. So just take a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes, even whatever it takes. Don't leave your workspace. Stay there until you have it in you to take on just one more task. And pretty soon you'll be through that list every day and you can go have your wine or your beer or your walk or whatever it is that you like to do to relax at the end of the day. So the third way I want to talk to you about applying the 40% rule is in relationships. And guess what, guys? This might be the toughest thing to do sometimes, because this is all kinds of relationships. This is work relationships, personal relationships, friends, family. Sometimes they can be the toughest. And why is that? Well, I bet we all have critics and haters in our lives. Sometimes they're even within our friends and family. These are the people that tell you that you're crazy to be doing what you're doing. These are the people that tell you network marketing is a scam. These are the people that tell you you'll never succeed. And it's really, really tough to deal with these people, because for some reason they seem to be a lot more invested in your failure than you are invested in your success. And why is that? So just drop me a yes here if you have some of those people in your life, or if you've had conversations like this. And, I think our natural tendency when we're in this situation is to want to argue back. Either we want to overcome their objections, or we want to convince them that they're wrong and we're right, or we want to sell them on whatever it is we're selling. And this is the point at which we're at our 40%. We're at our 40% of ability to take what's going on right now. So this is where you again want to tap into your mental reserves to get through to the finish line in your conversation or your relationship with this person. So what I challenge you to do in a situation like this is just try not to engage with the person. Give them the opportunity to have their perspective. Just let them go on and on and on, and find a peaceful place in your mind for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a long, long time in a conversation like that. But if you can do it for 5 minutes, you'll find a lot of times you'll diffuse that person. They'll calm down. They'll realize you aren't arguing back with them. And they may even realize that there's a little bit of miscommunication going on here, or a little bit of change of perspective in here. So by restraining yourself for just 5 minutes in a tough conversation like this, where you're at your capacity, you want to jump in and argue back with them, give yourselves those mental reserves to kind of hold back, let it go for a little bit, and find that it all hopefully comes together a little more harmoniously. If nothing else, at least you can walk away from the conversation with some peace of mind. So just tell me, do you consider yourself to be the kind of person that throws in the towel, or do you persevere? If you persevere in any way, shape, or form, I think it's going to be really helpful to you to remember when you get to that point that you're like, I'm done. I just want to quit. I just want to walk away, whatever it is, physically, mentally, emotionally, just walk away. Just remember, you're only at 40%. You have reserves in you to get through that next 60% and to make it all the way to the finish line. So that's what I got for you today. The Navy SEALs rule of 40%. Hey, Sharon, good morning. It's a pyramid scheme. Yeah, they say that, right? So deep breaths. Imagine the pyramid in your mind that every single company is, and just let them think it's a pyramid scheme. That's okay. They'll come back around. So yeah, so Navy SEALs 40% rule. When you think you're done, you're only at 40%. And the 3 ways to apply it: physically, train to failure, use increments; mentally, in work, give yourself the opportunity to rest and just get through one more task; and in relationships, sit back, rest a little bit, don't engage, let them go off, and you'll find a harmonious ending. So I hope this has been of some value today. If so, just drop me a hashtag value or some little hearts, a little bit easier to do if you're on your phone, and let me know that you got a little something out of today's training. And make sure you join us here every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our morning wake-up call. And if you haven't joined our free coaching group yet, just drop us a comment below that you'd like to be included in the group, and we'll send you an exclusive invitation link to get you involved there too. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.